Okay, I'm excited to do this webinar today, and I'm going to introduce Andrea and I. So this is our Zero Point Meridian, Introduction to Zero Point Meridian. You're also going to hear about frequency formulas as we discuss the 6-session frequency journey. All right. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to give you some steps to a higher frequency life. We're going to provide an experiential tool to eradicate fear and claim courage, and an introduction to the epigenetic solution that is in a bottle, frequency formulas. All right. So, my background, I'm an integrative mental health expert, and I have founded Health, Healing, and Wholeness actually quite a while ago. It keeps morphing into more, is what we find. I certify practitioners in Zero Point Meridian. I've been researching the impact of holistic practices in mental health, and I'm the author of several publications and manuals featuring the Love Solve method. You're going to hear a little bit about that. Quantum wholeness meditation. We may or may not get to that. And Zero Point Meridian, which we're doing for sure. So I have experienced 3 previous careers, and those include I worked as a substance abuse counselor, a school psychologist, and I was in private practice for a decade. So I have a master's in psychology. Combining that with my doctorate in natural medicine has positioned me for a very unique role in the mental health field. Todd and I, and this is like coming out this like right as we speak almost. Um,
Yeah.
Yay, the 501(c)(3, spreading hope. And our goal with that is to elevate frequencies of those in recovery and dealing with mental health challenges in Utah and beyond. All right, now I'm going to introduce Andrea, who is a facilitator for the succession frequency journey. She's completed a year of the Academy experience through our Health, Healing, and Wholeness techniques and is certified in Zero Point Meridian. She also co-owns Empower Potential Coaching with her husband, Richard. He's amazing. And they are celebrating, is it 25 years this year? So were you married in
25 this year?
2000?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good year. They have 5 children. She's been doing homeschooling. She actually kind of retired. Did you retire from homeschooling,
I
I
am
guess,
retired now.
a year ago
Yep.
and jumped right into that year-long training? She's been trained in Reiki, energy medicine, sound therapy, EMDR, and just recently has completed the Zero Point Meridian trainings. But her greatest joy is motherhood, which is lovely. She likes watching the Chosen series. Her new favorite pizza is honey almond chicken on a gluten-free crust from Two Guys Pizza in Lethbridge, Alberta. If I'd gone
Mm.
to Lethbridge, I was up in Cardston. We almost got together,
Yeah,
but
not too far away.
we'll have to get to Lethbridge next time and try out the pizza place. All right, on to the higher frequency life. And this is really, it's the model of stepping beyond the map or through the map of consciousness. We're going to be talking about that today. Um, I've been studying the frequency calibration since 2005. And that's when I discovered Dr. Hawkins, started reading Power versus Force, started understanding this model of a higher frequency, lifestyles. And the thing that I've done that's kind of unique is broken down these frequency levels into 5 life areas. So those who haven't taken the frequency assessment, and I just need to confirm with my team that it's ready to go, but basically there will be a link for you that you can take the frequency assessment and get your frequency scores in these 5 life areas. They include physical, which is your health, basically psychological, mental and emotional well-being, social, so that's your relationships, spiritual, which is, includes religious or beyond, and financial and career. Okay, so when you know that, and this is, I love this diagram, the rock climber. Okay, those who've gone through liberation training have seen the rock climber, and that's, last year, Andrea went through liberation training with us. That was the model I was using. This year, we're kind of taking that liberation training and putting it into a private program. But in this, I use the metaphor of the rock climber. And if you think about it, you've got these 5 life areas. One of those areas is highest for you. And I would love for you to put in the chat, like, what do you think is your highest life area? Where is your strengths? In the rock climber on the screen, you'll see spiritual is at a 490. That's a pretty high frequency. You're going to learn more about what do those mean. Mental emotional is the second highest on this version. Physical is at 300. And then you see the footholds. So you've got financial at 275 and relational at 200 or social. So this is the idea is that if you want to get to a higher frequency life, I'm going to ask, what do you have to move first? Any guesses? Any guesses? Your lowest foothold. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's where we're heading today in the webinar is talking about your lowest foothold. So are you ready to see? This could change your whole life. People don't have a tendency to want to work with their lowest foothold. What you want to do is keep stretching where your strengths are, right? You want to keep moving up where you're already strong. You don't really want to think about what's below. So today we're going to have to look at that just a little bit. So we're going to look at what's your frequency. This is a model that's part of our full program, and we aren't going to delve into all these areas, but I am going to encourage you to look at where you might be in a 100. So if you look at emotional, we're going to talk about emotional frequencies. Our lowest area at the 100 is dense emotions. Now, what's interesting is those dense emotions may also relate to your finances or your physical health. Like, you know that, you're in trouble in one of those areas, right? And you feel fear and you feel shame and maybe guilt because you haven't turned it around or you haven't figured it out. Everybody relate to that? Like something in your life that's like, ugh, it's heavy. So that's why we don't want to pull on that lower foothold because it's heavy. So would you like a tool today to figure that out? All right, here we go. So I want you to sit down and take a notebook. We do have an ebook that'll come out as a follow-up with this, so you can do this all again and have all the tools. But just take a notebook for now and just write down in what life areas are you experiencing fear, scarcity, or worry. So we're going to focus on that. We're just going to pinpoint that emotion today. So go ahead and fill in these blanks if you'd like. I experience fear when I think about. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrea now because she's going to take you down the rest of this path a little bit and have her continue with the prompts and then lead us to the solution.
Okay, so I'm taking over with fear from, hold on just a second.
Yeah, you can read through a couple of those prompts if you want.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. All right. So I experience fear when I think about. Sometimes I get caught in scarcity with, and I find myself worrying about.
There we go. And we'll just do a little timer. So people have 90 seconds to kind of sit with this and the more you delve this emotion up, the more this next technique is going to serve you. So I encourage you to dig in. I'm going to do it myself.
Okay, I think it's probably been about 90 seconds.
Perfect. Yeah, I just finished writing.
Okay,
Go. Okay.
so does anybody have what they want to share there, or we just want to roll forward?
If anybody wants to put anything in the chat, that would be perfect. We can work with it. Give you
Mhm.
more individualized support.
Yeah, we can help work on some stuff today with the people that we have here.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll watch the chat while I'm gonna have Andrea ask them these questions for you to think about.
Okay, so some more questions. You got your notebook in front of you. How do you conquer fear? Does it come back or does it stay away? So do we want to give people time to answer these questions, Cristine, in their notebook as well? Or just some reflective
No, it's
questions?
more reflecting, I think, like noticing that, because I think most people will find that fear is a, recurring theme. We
Yeah.
typically have the same fears today as we had a year ago or 10 years ago. They show up in different form often,
Mm. Hmm.
but it's not uncommon that people repeat these cycles, right?
Hmm. Stay in a circle.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, would you like a tool that will keep it away and that you can do on your own and takes less than 5 minutes? I don't think anybody would say no to that, maybe, but I think that sounds like a pretty
I would love to hear if anybody in the chat's got yeah, and we have a little bit of comment on, I think Thaddeus was saying that is that your strengths, Thaddeus, you're spiritual, mental, emotional? Yeah. So you're kind of like the rock climber. Do you want to share, like, what is your footholds area?
As far as just that being my strength,
So your strengths are those two, right? But
ones
your
up
yeah,
there.
foothold would be your lowest.
my foothold probably would have been the financial stuff,
Okay. Yeah. That is,
if I'm understanding the metaphor correctly. Yeah.
yes, yes. Perfect. Perfect example. All right. Thank you. And so I think we're going to jump in. Thaddeus, would you like to be the volunteer?
Christine, Bonnie,
We have,
there's
oh,
a
Bonnie has
comment
a
from
question.
Bonnie there.
Oh, cool. Oh, fear about daughter having cancer. I'm sorry. That is scary. Yeah, for sure. So that's a good example. We could do a couple.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do
I'm going
a
to move to the
couple.
next slide.
Okay.
And let me explain about psychological reversal first. So, is anybody in here familiar with EFT? So, emotional freedom technique. So, you may have heard of psychological reversal if you've explored emotional freedom technique. So, what it is the tendency for us to stay in a subconscious loop, if you want to call it that. So, we got a good image of a loop here. That is part of why that keeps coming back. Okay. So we're programmed, and I've done a lot of study with Joe Dispenza. He's done a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he explains this in depth, the idea that we are patterned by physical conditions, our genetics, but we're also patterned by mental conditions, which would be thought programs that just kind of run on repeat. And some of those we're aware of and they're conscious, others are subconscious. So it's really tricky to intervene because it's running in the background, kind of like, a program on a computer. We don't even realize it's not on the screen, but we're getting results from it on the screen of our lives. And we keep getting frustrated that, oh, it's back, this issue keeps coming back, right? So some of those psychological reversals are, um, they're basically negative beliefs. You could call it that we believe on some level. And the trick is to reverse them. It's very difficult to do in the mind space. So we're actually going to present something that works with the vital body. So real quick, and we're going to talk more about this, but we have a physical body that runs, cellular programs, if you want to call it that. The nervous system is part of the physical body. We have an energy body or vital body that runs emotional programs. And we have a mental body that runs mental programs. Isn't that interesting to think about? All right. So to interrupt those mental programs, you may need to do it on a different level to get to the subconscious. Okay, like on the energetic level. So I'm going to turn it back to Andrea to explain this.
Okay. Awesome. I actually really appreciated that psychological reversal. And I want to read that book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yes,
Dr.
good
Dispenza.
book.
I love that guy.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is one of the tools that Cristine was referring to. And this is called the alignment statement. And this actually helps us. So basically what we're doing is we're creating that reversal of like a mindset or a belief that we have, but we're also doing it on a body level or an energetic level at the same time. So just having more tools than one than just the mind, as Cristine said. So we can do this specifically. Do we want to work on a specific person?
We're going to do fears in general. And so let's have people rate their fears on a 1 to 10 and put that in the chat if they would. So I forgot to put that on here, but like we call it the subjective unit of distress. It's called a SUD. And so pinpoint your fear that you were writing about, and then find what that, like the intensity level is. So high intensity with fear is like panic, like you start having trouble breathing, your heart races, you got, like you get dizzy, whatever, right? And some people don't go up to that, but you may have a 10 that is a 10. And then a 1 is your calm and at peace, all is well. 5 is like stress. 5 is kind of like that line in the sand where stress is like unhealthy. Past a 5. Okay. People want to put it in the chat? Let's see. Let's see what numbers we have. Everybody can put one in there. Okay, we got a 7. All right. I've got a 7 too. 7s are perfect numbers to work with. And then I do think it would be helpful, Andrea, if you want to work with someone directly to Bonnie, are you open to doing this, or would you rather us pick another volunteer?
Yeah, you can be an observer if you want, Bonnie, or we can work on you. Totally up to you.
Sure, I'd be glad to have you work with me.
Okay, wonderful.
Awesome.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, so we have this alignment statement, as you can see. I'm just going to read through it. The alignment statement is, even though I have a blank, so have this problem, and we'll identify the problem. I love and accept myself completely. With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive. Or we can also use, I allow myself to be filled with infinite love and gratitude. And then we take a cleansing breath. And there's some physical actions that we do as well that I'll show you all.
I'm going to go off share so people can see Andrea do this.
Okay.
Okay.
So Bonnie, if what we need to do with the alignment statement is to put that specific problem in the blank for you so that we can work on your specific issue that you want to work on today, or your fear today. So if you could identify your fear in like a sentence, what would that sentence be?
Even though I have fear about Andrea's ultimate outcome with her stages of cancer,
Okay, so I'm just going to write that down for you. So Andrea's
outcome, we could just say Andrea's outcome with cancer. Would that work to make it
yeah,
short?
it's
Okay.
because it's metastasized.
Okay, so
Sorry.
Andrea's outcome with cancer. Does that sound okay to you, Bonnie?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you, Bonnie, what we're gonna do, and then we'll do it together, and we're gonna do it 3 times. Okay. So this is how the alignment statement comes with some physical. I'm going to move my camera so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So the alignment statement actually goes with some physical things that we do with our body. So when we're doing the alignment statement, we're going to be tapping this meridian point. I don't remember what this meridian point is called. If anybody else knows,
The
Cristine.
small intestine meridian.
Okay, we're going to be tapping the small intestine meridian. So I usually use my left hand. You can use your left hand, you tap with your right hand. So I'm just going to show you right now. Okay, so you'd say, even though I am fearful of Andrea's outcome with cancer, I love and accept myself completely. With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive. Okay,
Mhm.
when we're finished that, what we're going to do is we're going to clasp our hands together, and then we're going to take our hands and we're going to put them on our solar plexus like so. And we're going to take a deep breath in. And when we breathe out, what we're going to do is we're going to push all the air out of our lungs, and we can go forward to push the air out. And what you basically want to do is to get to a place where you push all the air out. You're going to push that with your mouth. So it's going to sound and look like this. You can't see me as I pass them, but as I pass the video camera there, but you're going to go down. And what you're going to do is you're going to get to a place where you've let all the air out of your lungs. And then you're just going to stay there in that place just for a little bit. And this is actually called the 0 point, or the net, like it's a place of like a vacuum, a net zero point. And we call this actually 0 point breathing, because you just want to get to a place of neutrality. Okay, so when you get to that place, you're down, you let all the air out, you're just going to stay there just for a little bit, and then you come back up and you can take a breath in again. And then we're going to repeat. Okay, so Bonnie, when I do this with you, what I'll do is I'll just say part of the statement, like I'll say part of the statement, and then you just repeat, just so you don't have to try to say the whole thing and remember it on your own. I'm
Okay,
going to guide you through the whole thing.
great.
Okay, so you ready? So we're gonna, so
Yep.
left hand up, right hand, we're tapping the small intestine meridian point. So even though I'm fearful
Even though I'm fearful
of Andrea's outcome with cancer,
of Andrea's outcome with cancer,
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive.
With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive.
Okay, and then you're gonna clasp your hands, stick them at your solar plexus, take a deep breath in, and you can do this standing up or sitting down, and then breathe it all out.
Awesome.
Got it. Thank you.
And let's do it one more time with a leave the blank for others. So others who've watched this, thank you, Bonnie, for demoing. We'll just have Andrea go through it again. Leave the blank silent so you can fill it in and access those emotions. And everybody can do it.
Okay, so we'll do everybody together. So, yeah, I'll repeat. So I'll say the whole alignment statement, and then what I want everybody to do who's watching and participating is to put in your own part in the blank. And then we can all do this at the same time. So Bonnie, you're going to still put in your fear of Andrea's outcome with cancer. Everybody else put in your blank, and we'll do this together. Okay?
It could take just a minute though to make sure, because people did write out a lot probably. Too, if you want to write down just like 5 words
Okay.
to fill in that blank.
So if everybody wants to write that down, and you can write yours down too, Bonnie, so you have it in front of you, because you're going to be saying it on your own. So everybody just take a minute and write down your blank, your fear that you want to work on.
If anybody needs help, let us know, but hopefully you've got that figured out.
Yeah, does anybody need help
And
identifying?
they did rate then they did their rating. And we should check back after we do this to see if the ratings changed too.
Yeah, we can do
Okay.
that.
So what makes it a 7 or a 5 or a whatnot? Okay, perfect.
Can you repeat the very last phrase? I completely love
Oh,
and
we'll do it. We'll do that
Yeah,
together.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted
Just
you
want
to
to make
have,
sure you've got your fear statement. Everybody who hasn't done it with us. Yeah.
but the last part is with infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive, if you want to have that written down for yourself. With
I
infinite
will
love.
put it, I can put it back up. Maybe that would be helpful too, so people have it.
Yeah, that would be great. And then people can follow along. You can even take a screenshot of it if you want to. Take a screenshot of it. So you guys have the alignment statement there. Okay, is everybody ready? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're ready?
We'll go ahead. Let's do it.
Okay, all right. Okay, we've got our left hand up. We're going to tap and just repeat after me. So even though I put in your blank, I love and accept myself completely. With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive. Okay, and then you're going to clasp your hands at your solar plexus. Take a deep breath in. And then breathe it all out. And when you get to that place of neutrality, it's good to just kind of do a little check-in and just pay attention to any awarenesses that come up, just with a shift in how you feel or any images that come to your mind or anything. Does anybody have any awarenesses that came to them? And if you didn't, it's fine, but I'm just putting it out there.
And I would, if anybody wants to share any shifts that have happened or put their SUD level up, mine dropped a couple points. So
Okay.
we're going to talk about that.
Thaddeus, what did you notice about your throat? You felt just something at your throat?
Yeah, you might say that.
Okay.
Like a sensation? Like an
Yeah.
Yeah. That is interesting. The throat is the center of will. And so we tend to want to exert our will, when, take control of things or whatever.
It's also
Well,
voice.
it wasn't really like that. It was more like yeah, it was again like something like trying to constrict the word.
And voice. So
Yeah.
voice would be the other, like do you
Yeah.
feel like your voice, and that might be, so if you were doing this and we're talking about, when we individualize this and you do a session, that is perfect information for like the next level, which could be, even though my voice is constricted in this fear.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because yeah, what my fears I wrote down had like nothing to do with the voice, but then as soon as it happened, yeah, that's where like some dreams that I've had recently have inspired that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
So
it's very common that we start to.
Sorry, I was going to say if we did that statement one more time, like Cristine said, you could add that, having that awareness that came to you about the constriction at your throat. You could, like she said, put that right into your alignment statement. Part of your fear is that's what came up. So just to address it, and then probably you'll be able to have more come as you do that again.
Yeah.
And we can do that one more time. We usually do that.
Yeah, should we do it one more time? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it one more time. So this time I'm going to invite you guys, when you do it, is when you get down to that 0 point where the breath is all gone, is just stay there and just pay attention. Just see if there's anything that you notice. And then we can share it, talk about it. Or if you don't want to share it, that's fine, but maybe document it for yourself. What did you notice? And if you do want to share, then you can share. Okay, so we're going to try that one more time. So even though and put in your problem, I love and accept myself completely. With infinite love and gratitude, I release and forgive. Okay, clasp hand, solar plexus. Take a deep breath in. And breathe it all out.
Okay,
Okay.
now I'm curious. So mine dropped another point. So
Mm.
that was good. Yeah.
Okay, were there any awarenesses that came up for anybody that people want to share? I can tell you what came up for me, which was really
Yeah.
cool. So I believe in God. I feel like my family may have a big change up ahead of us, and which is creating fear in my life for me. And when I got to that neutral space, I just felt God say to me, I am with you.
Mm,
It was, and just,
that's cool. So in your silence, the voice came.
yeah.
That's cool. I love that. That also says, you've used silence as a practice, most likely, so that you can see the results of that. Which is
Yeah, and I think this practice can help people to learn to get to that place of
for sure.
silence and just stillness, and to start to observe what happens when they get to that place of stillness, what comes.
Totally. Very good. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to our slides. And
Is there anybody else that wants to share or has any awarenesses that came up for them before we move on?
okay, please put stuff in the chat as it comes. All right. So do you want to share a little bit about this since you've got a client right now you're working with in this journey, and it's been really fun to really structure it for success. So tell us just a little bit, like, what could somebody expect if they were doing a succession frequency journey as far as the 0 Point Meridian component?
So I guess some people know here what happens with the 0 point. So what we just shared with you guys today. This is the beginning part of 0 point sessions and what we do, but there's a lot more that we do that just helps us to get in and figure out what's going on, what the root is of that problem, or what's there, what the fears are. There's a bunch of different tools that we use, just help people kind of pull back the layers to get down to the root of it. And then when we get down to the root of it, then what we can do is to start rebuilding. And how we kind of describe it, and what some of the work that we do is to basically loosen up the neural pathways, old patterns, old thinking patterns, old things that we've been doing for a long time, to just start to loosen them up, and then start to create new pathways that we can now be on a new path for the body, for the mind, and using tools to help reinforce those so that we can start on a new path and not keep doing this.
Not go in the old pattern. Yes.
Yeah.
It's enough time and practice to learn the technique. So that's another thing people go away with is pretty much, maybe not mastery, but full experience with 0 Point Meridian for their own use.
Yeah.
And this is what makes it so different. This is, you don't go to an EMDR therapist and learn how to do that yourself. So that's what I love about this. And we're going to talk more about the value, like what makes it different. But yes, the individualized sessions are powerful. There we go. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is fun. You want to read this?
Yeah. So 0 Point Meridian Technique has transformed the emotional states of hundreds of clients in the past 5 years. It's like EMDR on steroids. So probably most of you have heard of EMDR. And it is a pretty exciting technique, but 0 Point Meridian, the work that you can do with it, with the body and the mind and just the systems of our body is really powerful.
Yes, thank you. Okay, this is how we know this. So this was an independent study that was done with a therapist who was very seasoned in EMDR. And so you'll see the rating. So her clients, she did 80 sessions. Like she tracked clients along 80 sessions for several weeks and got a pre-score. And this is at CIS forms. The Conscious Intervention Scale measures qualities of well-being along the lines of physical, like your physical stress level, or calm, peace, mental calm and peace, your emotional well-being, your spiritual connection, your sense of like heading forward in life. Okay. And so a high score on that is like 45. The highest you can get is a 50. So low is like anything below a 25. Pre-session was 28. So what was interesting about that is a lot of time, like I guess you could say low is below a 30. 30 is average. So clients were a little below average coming into therapy. And this is pre and post session. So with EMDR, they were like 20, was it 29? I think it was. And when they left their session, they were at like a 36, 37. And so that was a good standard deviation higher, right? You can see that in the marks along
Mhm.
both sides. With 0 Point Meridian, this is what gets so exciting, is that this is across more than 80 sessions. Okay, so these are averages from hundreds probably of sessions along multiple 0 Point Meridian practitioners. And what we found is a 2 standard deviation change pre and post. Isn't that wild? So people came in actually a little bit lower. Like these are people that hadn't been going to therapy for weeks and weeks, like the ones in the, in the other study. They were coming in fresh with stuff that had to be dealt with. And this is in one session. This was transforming their lives. So they were at, an average of like 27, 28 pre-session, and then 40 something, 43, I think it was. Oh, 42.6 at the end. Isn't that wild? So this is working, and it's working in a single session twice as well, really, as EMDR. Okay. Next is the question of what else does this entail, like these 6 sessions? So a 6-session frequency journey includes multiple sessions on 0 Point Meridian, but also is included the Love Solve method. So this is the technique that I use with over 1,000 clients over the course of my private practice to support emotional breakthroughs and raise emotional intelligence. All right, would you like to get a sneak peek of the Love Solve method? Here we are. So you can see it in the well. So the negative emotional well is part of the Love Solve method. It involves things like guilt and shame, which are super low frequency, if you can see that, 20 and 30. This is super low frequency. They say that the average frequency in a prison is 50. And if you look at apathy, that would make sense. Like, what do you do when you're locked up? You just kind of sit there. My husband can tell you. He's spent some time behind bars. I laugh. People who know Todd know that, like, he's had quite a transformation, right? And he just celebrated 4 years clean and sober today. I just gave him his 4-year coin and he posted on Facebook. He's actually evolved kind of beyond AA and NA because he's doing a lot of these quantum things and he's just like, he's beyond, right? And so we didn't really plan a AA meeting this year, but he's got it. He's got it. So he's using the tools in his own life. Far from apathy. But within this negative well, you also have fear at a 100. And we're going to talk about that more. Okay, we're going to talk about the adrenaline twins. So, and did you notice here, this was interesting. Anger is actually a higher frequency than fear. And people are like, what? Why would that be? And I actually have it at the top of the well, which is interesting too. So fear is a catalytic emotion. Okay. It moves things, right? And anger, sorry, did I say that wrong? Anger is catalytic. Fear
Mhm.
is contracting. Okay. So
Mhm.
when people are angry, they don't always, like, you don't usually see them contract. You see them explode, right? Which is moving energy. When people are in fear, they contract and they shrink sometimes, right? So if you look at my friends, the adrenaline twins, okay, so these are fun. Okay, people who see this are like, okay, I had this in my mind for years, and I finally found an artist to put this on, paper, and you can see they're like little kidney beans, right? So the kidneys, on top of the kidneys, you've got adrenal glands, and so these adrenal glands are like their little hats. And but they're both programmed in your body to respond to or with adrenaline, okay? So fear responds to adrenaline with more the flight. So this is fight or flight. So fear is like kind of running from it or crouching or hiding or um moving away from. Whereas anger responds a little differently. Anger gets, big, or anger gets loud, or anger gets even. And it's not necessarily healthier or better on the planet, but it is more powerful. Okay. So part of our training, and this is huge, is to learn how to utilize this dynamic in your own nervous system to get your power back. So at the 200 frequency, because we got 150 with anger, we're trying to get past that 200. So just contemplate this. Are there areas where you've given your power away to systems, people, or those in authority? What would it take to get your power back? Have you allowed yourself to get angry? It's interesting to note that anger is at the highest level, the negative emotions on the map of consciousness at the 150. To get past 200, that anger turns into courage. However, sometimes we bypass anger and drop back to fear, guilt, or apathy instead. So that might be your psychological reversal. I want you to sit with that and think about it. When you start to get to that fear, do you cycle back to a lower frequency emotion? Do you go into shame? Do you go into guilt? Do you think about getting angry and then, or start to get angry and then shrink back because it's like, oh, I can't do that. So, what could you do to transmute anger in a way that brings you power? Here's a few: physical exertion, kickboxing, weightlifting, yoga. Harley Ann is on here. She's a yoga instructor. She's been trained in yoga. And she and I talked about this on occasion. Like, I'm like, I just need to go do downward dog for a minute, or whatever. So there's physical positions that actually empower you or that calm you, either way. Speaking out loud to your source with all the passion and energy you hold. Writing a letter to someone in power, whether you send it or not, the energy is released. Joining a group of activists and forming a petition or speaking publicly to promote change. Isn't that cool to think about? Okay, so I want everybody to take a moment and consider that. Like, is there something you can do with that fear that we just started to neutralize that could shift you? And I want to clarify also that anger is a catalyst, but claim the courage. Because all these things that we just talked about back here, I mean, like writing that letter to someone in power, that takes courage. Speaking publicly to promote change, that takes courage, right? Even a little bit of kickboxing might take courage. It might just take you getting out of your seat, stepping into something new. So courage at a 200. All right. So sit with that or move with that. Get yourself up and do something physical. Do you have a favorite, Andrea? You've done the full liberation training, and so you know some of these tools, and you might use them also in helping clients in their one-on-ones to find a specific you know, outlet.
I thought the rock throwing was pretty
Rock
awesome.
throwing. Do you want to tell us about rock throwing?
Yeah, so rock throwing is one of those activities to just kind of move the energy, and it's kind of like you might not start really angry, but what happens is you keep throwing rocks, it's like it's drawing it out of you, and you start to get more and more angry, and then as you like let that all out, and then you start throwing rocks, it's like you've released it, and then you start to kind of calm down, and then your throwing gets less aggressive. But you go from
And
like not
obviously there's
like this is
rules. So what do you
really
throw the
okay.
rocks at?
Yeah. So I was throwing it around the lake. I just picked up
Around a
rocks
lake.
to a
Perfect.
lake.
Yeah. Just throw them back in the
Yeah.
lake.
And so I started out, okay, this is kind of silly. Okay, I'm doing this a little bit. Like I wasn't as really into it, but then I really got into it and then could feel it kind of coming up and out. And then after it came up and out, then it simmered down. So
Perfect. Yep.
yeah.
One of my favorites is rocks on rocks. So I actually, when I landscaped my yard, I had them bring in boulders. And then we had to do the cleanup of the dirt, you know, and all that. And there'd be piles of rocks. And I would go around and collect them, put them in buckets. And I would tell the landscaper, don't touch the rocks, don't haul the rocks away. They're mine. And so then I would take these hand-sized rocks out and throw them against the boulders. Now the only issue, they do shatter, and it's really like you feel your power because you can see like the evidence of it. And then you just have to clean it up because you don't want the lawnmowers getting all that. But you don't need to have a witness to it. It's really just you and your source in those moments that are, you know, it doesn't need to scare any, I mean, you don't, and that's a rule. You don't scare anybody with it. Like you're not attempting to empower or get power over anyone. It's really just identifying your own power and seeing, you know, it's like you're talking to your subconscious when that rock moves in that way that only you did, really, right? You got
Mhm.
it. You got that movement out of it, that shatter out of it, that whatever. Yeah. And some people aren't conditioned in their nervous system towards that. So we're going to talk about a solution in just a second on that. Because sometimes that's frightening even in your own subconscious. And some people can relate to that maybe. So courage looks different for each of us. Okay, I'm going to go to something different. Okay, I want to share something different. Maybe you have never even heard of when it comes to shifting the nervous system and other things. Okay, so I've written a book called Four Bodies, Four Medicines. It's in the back of 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain Chemistry. And we also have a free version of it out there. So, four bodies is, we talked about, you have a physical body. That's where your nervous system sits. Your vital body is your emotional body. Your mental body is where the thoughts are all stored, but you also have a quantum body. And there's something called a top-down approach, which is where you start to inform the rest of your system through the quantum body instead of the other way around. Now, our medical system does what's called the bottom-up approach. That is where it makes the corrections in the physical form, like surgery or pharmaceuticals. So, in the case of someone who is dealing with fear, what does that look like as a diagnosis? Anybody? Anybody? Anxiety disorder, right? One of the worst things that our medical system has done is to treat anxiety with addictive benzodiazepines. If I were to have the courage to stand up and speak loudly about anything, it would be do not prescribe benzodiazepines for anxiety. Teach people how to manage their anxiety, how to tap into their power, how to gain their, you know, their resources. Because what happens with a benzo is that it creates a very powerful dependency that actually cannot even be managed without medical support to get off of them.
Mm.
And it's highly addictive, but it does what's called a rebound effect. So a rebound effect is where you take a beach ball, and they actually have us teach this the DUI classes, back when I was a substance abuse counselor, I was teaching people how dependency happens, and alcohol and benzodiazepines are working on the same chemicals. So basically you can interchange alcohol and benzodiazepines are things like Xanax and Xanax and clonazepam, something like that. So those things, Valium, there's the other one. So those things will create an instant like decrease in the nervous system of, excess chemicals. And it's like taking that beach ball and pushing it down in the water. And what's going to happen as soon as that chemical wears off, as soon as the drug wears off? Is the beach ball done? No, it bounces up. So now it's not only sitting on the water, it's typically higher for a second. And that creates tolerance. So people need more. And, you've got this vicious cycle ensues. So that's the bottom up. We've got a top down that works really well. Okay. Would you like to hear more? Here we go. Let me tell you a case study. This is Amy Walker. She is a CEO to the max. She is a business growth advisor. She's an exit planning advisor. She's like a strategist. She's amazing. She's busy and full of life. She's got 5 boys. She owns multiple companies. She hit a point over 2024 where she just couldn't emotionally keep up. I remember she came to me and said, all right, help. What do I do? And so I basically she was the first person this year to do the 6-session journey. And that's when we figured out this works, especially for people that didn't fit into our group model, that weren't local, that were like they needed something right now and didn't want to wait 3 weeks or whatever for a program to come out. So immediately we started working together with Zero Point Meridian. And she reports within the first few weeks, it was like she could finally balance her world, and she got rest. She was in fight flight activation 80% of the time. Like when we tracked it, like she would only go down, and she didn't have too scary of a dependency. It was scrolling on her phone. So it was just kind of mindless, like I think a lot of people do at the end of the day, to try to just get her brain to stop, and she'd spend some time with her family and stuff in the evening, but that was like her body did not know how to slow down. And so the other thing we did right away is we started her on adrenal valor. So eventually she had multiple formulas, but the first one was that adrenal valor. Oh, I think we get to hear her. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I've got the sound sharing on. You'll love her. Okay. Let's see if it's working. There we go. 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Amy Walker, and I wanted to share how life-changing Zero Point Meridian has been for me. So I live a really busy and full life. I'm a mom of 5 boys. I own multiple companies, and I hit a point over the last year where I just felt like I couldn't emotionally keep up with all of the things that were going on in my life. I was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I was experiencing strain in my relationships, both in business and personally, just because there were so many things going on. And I found my brain so incredibly full and on the go all the time that in order to relax at all, I would have to be doing like 3 things at once: watching a show, playing on my phone, maybe listening to an audiobook at the same time. It was like I could not get my brain to shut down. And I was having a hard time sleeping, I was gaining weight, wasn't feeling very good, all the things. So I met Zero Point Meridian and started going through each of the steps and using the formulas. And within my first few weeks, I felt my anxiety level go down for like the first time in over a year. And this is after having tried like multiple different types of anti-anxiety medication. It's like I finally was able to come down to a balance and start to get some rest. And I could just feel my body for the first few weeks. I went through this phase of just being like, I could rest for the first time in a while, and I felt still for the first time in a while. And then I watched as some of I started feeling my capacity increase to solve problems better. I started seeing that my communication was getting a lot better. A lot of the dynamics that had shifted in, I just started cleaning them up, worked on a lot of forgiveness. And now I feel like I just have better tools at my disposal. So if I wake up feeling anxious in the morning, I have the tools and the techniques that I can go through, whether it's the 0 Point Meridian tapping or whether it's meditation practices. I feel like I am better able to navigate through. My life is still really full, and it's that way by choice. I'm doing big things because I want to be. Everyone else in my life, their answer for me was to kind of like scale back and do less and simplify. But I want to be doing the things that I'm doing. And so what this has allowed me to do is be able to continue moving forward at that high pace, but to be able to actually have the support and infrastructure that I need to be happy and successful in the process. So I would highly encourage anyone listening or watching this to be able to jump in and take that plunge and know that you deserve to be able to feel happy, to feel fulfilled, to go after your dreams and do big things.
That's sweet. I love her. Okay. She does big. All right. So this is just kind of for fun to see as we looked at her frequency assessment. Her physical and psychological were low. They're in the 250 range. And so when we're going to talk about 300, we want to at least get there. And then her mental health inventory, this is kind of what matched up with it, is where we saw the anxiety. So she was between moderate, well, she was high moderate severity, so a high end of moderate. And we look at, there's correlations with all this. So, okay. So adrenal valor, let me tell you about this. So this is the formula to enhance courage, relieve fear, calm the mind, encourage a positive view, support shift into the physical being rather than mental space. So you're actually moving that energy through your body. It allows you to shed emotional baggage, let go of stress, encourages balance between sensitivity and strength, and activates inner power, strengthens personal resistance. All right. So it basically balances your adrenal glands and works with your whole, physical resistance system too. So we're going to do basically some affirmations. And with that, we're going to use a technique, or it's a positioning. So we're working with the governing meridian. Okay, so the governing meridian goes from actually your top lip all the way around your back and down. So it's like half of your center. And it's powerful, especially the governing part. It's more governs that masculine or mental body more. So that part of you that wants to force things or, stay in control, this is powerful. All right. So this is where we're going to tell the subconscious. I attract those who support me on my life's journey. So you're just tapping back. So you're taking from the eyebrows and up and over. Okay. How about this one? Everybody ready? I am the hero in my life. Isn't that good? All right. My nervous system supports greater power in my life. And I take care of myself. This allows me to take care of others. I work and play in balance. I have faith in myself and my power to heal. Finances, health, or relationships. You can be specific. And I let go of what does not serve me. You feel that? Okay. So this is what a frequency formula is. It works with, first of all, so the 6-session frequency journey includes frequency formulas. They're basically the epigenetic solution in a bottle that we said you're not going to find anywhere else. We are the only place that has these. Okay. But they did come from a doctor and been around for decades, more or less. So I just ended up with a private label and then found out I'm it now. So I was like, wow, I have responsibility to support this top-down approach. So the top-down approach, so the formulas are actually informed through biofeedback technology and other things, but they are similar. We have a whole, webinar on formulas if you want to know more, but just understand they support shifts in the morphogenetic fields. They're information-based. They're quantum biofeedback orientation. Okay, so they're not just any biofeedback, but this specific biofeedback has designed at least one of those formulas. So it's called the life system, which stands for living information forms energy. Isn't that interesting thing about it? So information is like the information field. So that's a quantum field. That quantum field forms the vital body. Okay, so that informs whether you are rooted and grounded, whether your chakras are all running or meridians are all running, so more or less the tapping also does that. But this creates a bigger shift, a more solid shift. So Harley Ann, are you available? You still on? Do you want to read this part? There you are.
Sorry.
Perfect. And you can summarize it or just read it, either way.
Yeah, so long story short, I have PMDD, which just makes periods really extra super emotional to the point that I was suicidal and things, and it was really not good.
And it has
But
to do with an anxiety disorder too.
yes,
Yes, and depression. Okay. All those
mixing with
things that
all of the things.
all the
Anxiety, depression, all of it. So essentially, I started taking the formulas. Specifically, Face It Lift was one of the first ones that I took, and as I started taking it, I realized that there was something missing. And so I asked Cristine for some help. And she just one day I was like, I wonder if Cristine has any ideas. So she recommended this lithium orotate, and I started taking it with my other medications, and it's amazing the change. Like my symptoms have decreased to almost nothing. Like
that is so amazing.
comparatively, it's incredible.
And that's not just what lithium, I mean, lithium orotate's not designed to do that, but
No,
it was the one little mineral, literally,
exactly.
or, component in that picture that was part of that whole system. So the formulas don't provide nutrients,
Exactly.
but the formulas inform the body on all its levels and layers what is needed for the balance and the intentions to manifest fully. And so in Harley's case, and it was just really interesting, like in moments, minutes, we were like, oh, I
Yeah.
know what it is. And I had some, I think, didn't I?
Yeah, you totally had a bottle and you
That was
it was great.
That was awesome. So let's talk about Face It Lift. Okay. So Face It Lift lifts emotions, supports well-being, translates life experiences, relieves depression and extreme stress, supports vitality and empowerment, releases the victim mindset, supports generational healing, reactivates the person who experiences resistance or avoidance. And isn't that something like fear does, right? Relieves shyness and social anxiety and restores the ability to see the positive. So we're just going to do like 3 of these, but everybody get back to your tapping. You ready? So we're going to do governing meridian. So it's part of this information. I face my life with optimism and vitality. I have faith and hope in the future. I am motivated to accomplish great things. I take action on time. Isn't that an interesting one? So I know some of us, like, our fear gets in the way, and then there's this like window of opportunity we might miss if we're not moving at the right time. So I like this. And in general, this is, what the properties of this are is not necessarily to provide, like I said, nutrients, but to work with the information in the system of the body. So at a 300 frequency, this is a question, or it's at the 300 frequency where we have positive, productive routines that focus on stability. So, question to ask yourself, are your routines working? So, Amy talked about hers. She talked about how she, she'd hit a wall and people are telling her, you're gonna have to change your lifestyle. But she was ready for a quantum shift. And so that's literally what happened is she up leveled and things worked. So hope is a 300, okay, 310, and acceptance is a 350. And so it's interesting to look at those. And neutrality is interesting too. So neutrality is at 250. So when we're doing the exhale with 0 Point Meridian, we hit that silence. And that's a high frequency. That 250 is actually even a higher frequency than courage. Isn't that interesting to think about? Like the nothing of neutrality allows for intervention, divine intervention, even like Andrea shared. And hope isn't just this chasing a carrot on the string. Part of it is sitting in what do you have? So acceptance is kind of a like, okay, what is available to me? Here's the reality. Like I have 24 hours in a day. I have X in the bank. I have this training, and so you're like accepting this experience of like what is, and then you may have insight to work with from there. So, I'm not going to go into deep into the 400, but basically in your 6-session program, you will address 400, which it gets even better. And we talk more about the quantum shift. And so let me tell you a little bit about the quantum shift. So 400 is where, you're not stuck in your routines. You actually move out, up and out, typically, of that experience. And so I'm going to show you kind of like, if people are stuck in a routine and things aren't working, it's like you're banging your head against a wall, right? You're just like you're running up against this wall. And what the 400 is it says, oh, it's not a wall, it's a step. And so you just have to up level enough to get that hope, to get that sense of like, oh, it's a step and move into that. But then the trick is to stay with it long enough that you calibrate yourself to a 400 and don't just come back down. Because if you just go up, you can come back down, right? So you want to get up leveled and new routines, new practices that keep you at a 400. And so some of those are 0 Point Meridian, using the Love Solve method, and taking formulas. So trans formula is actually the formula that's designed to up level and to take you to that experience of the step. So it supports freedom from anything that could be holding you back from making positive changes. It works with beliefs that might keep you from success, economically or personally. It supports changes with ingrained habits or beliefs, including generational patterns, and works on feelings of competence, worthiness, intelligence, acceptance, and empowerment. So who could use that, right? And so this is some of the affirmations with it are, everything I need is accessible here and now.
We want to do that with the tapping again,
Yeah,
Cristine?
let's do it. Okay. You ready? Okay, I want you to just sit with that though. Everything I need is accessible here and now. I have enough. My new beliefs move me forward. We can say upward and forward. I am on my way. I am successful. I love my new routines and use them daily. I recommit each day. So I think that's enough there. Oh, miracles happen. Miracles happen. Let's go with that. Okay. So we have some amazing programs also that a whole nother direction we can go with miracles because that's high frequency stuff. And so beyond this, we have, well, first of all, just fun to see Amy's story. So her mental health score dropped from an 82 down to like a 53, which took it down levels of intensity in 3 months. And her frequency score went up. Look at that. So her psychological went up to a 360, like a 100-point jump. And she even had like little jumps in other areas. and she told, at the end of the 3 months, she's like, okay, now I'm going to work on my physical well-being. Now I'm ready to get my juice going. Because a lot of times when people are in their fight flight all the time, they have zero energy to work out. And working out isn't really even helping, because that's not necessarily where they haven't released their pattern yet. Does that make sense? So if you're just running, for example, so it depends on how you work out, I guess. But if you just move running from your head to running with your feet, it might relieve some of that stress, but it may not change the pattern. Okay. So, with the succession frequency journey, we include 6 individual sessions, 4 frequency formulas, and it's got the Love Self method, the 0 Point Meridian Technique. You get a whole manual with it. It is definitely worth $1,200, especially if you kind of stretch it out and use it for 2 to 3 months, like Amy did. So she went weekly for a few weeks and then every other week, and she ended up with like a 3-month program for this. And 3 months is plenty of time to use the formulas with. So that is the deal. It's only $777, and we do have one of those systems where you can break it down into payments as well. All right. So let's see, I think that's most of it. Oh, 500. So one of the things that you experience in the journey is understanding how the 500 frequency works. And in some cases, you'll have the opportunity to learn the meditation practice, quantum wholeness meditation, which is powerful in the shift process. Okay, I think that's it. So, questions. And anything else you want to add to that, Andrea, and like what you're seeing in the way of potential with this?
I think there's huge potential for everybody. And it's one thing that I love seeing is people being able to transform and get out of, I think one of my personal missions in life is to help liberate the captive. And I feel like doing this work is helping people to get, and we may not be necessarily like, in prison, in jail, but like we're doing the same things over and over and we're like stuck, right? It's like we're chained spiritually or emotionally or whatever. And we've just been stuck in these patterns for so long. And I just love being a part of giving people tools to help them to free themselves of those patterns and become liberated, and what they can accomplish as they've let go of those chains.
Yes. Oh, I love that. You were so perfect. So in liberation training, we literally talk about liberating the captive, and so incorporating that is so beautiful. Put back the slide on which frequency?
Which frequency was that, 𝐿𝐮𝐻?
We'll see if I can find out.
It was the second to the last one.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it.
Thank you.
So, oops.
Not that one, the one before.
There was, that one, like the 500?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
No, we won't get into, it's like this is a 6-week journey, so we couldn't do it all in 90 minutes. But yeah, some of the power of the 500 frequency, that's where you want to get to. So something that we teach in our trainings is that the 400 is good. It's like you break out of your old patterning and your old paradigms, but it's also still kind of a roller coaster. And 500 is where you get off the roller coaster. And that's the one to get to for sure. The power of these tools is that it supports a progression model. And that's the whole idea, is like continuing to progress. And so once you get to 500, say with your, let's say your psychological or your spiritual, then you want to get the other areas of your life up. So think of the rock climber, right? Then what can go up to a 400 next, or what can go up to a 300 next? And so if you can get all of you up to the 500, you're not climbing anymore. You actually get to sit down and rest. You actually get to experience the view and, and look out over the horizon. And, it's what you work to get to, right? So that I can say I've achieved that and I love it. I achieved that in my life, and it is the formulas. I have been taking formulas now for 10 years, and I can say I probably reached the 500 frequency in 4 out of 5 life areas 5 years ago. And it took some major quantum shifting to get that foothold all the way up, to the 500 to join me. I was dangling my leg over the cliff for a while. And, and it was hard to say like, okay, I'm really fully here and progress and move on that new plane. And then when I did, that's how, and it's the story of being at zero. It's how I left my world as I knew it and went into a new world. And so Todd and I are working together to bring these solutions to others. And so Todd became my partner in that 500 frequency journey. And one of the things we're looking at is we know these things work. We have a voice, we have a mission, but the trick is like how to maximize that. And so that's where I'm at, is how do we get, and it's really actually a 600 frequency, to be able to take all those things and then actually impact the world in a significant way with those things. So 600 is our next level. And so we're looking for support and encouragement and whatever, people show up to bring to that solution. And if it's just yourself, if you get to be a success story, that's enough. So I love it. So I want to take time and, oh, go ahead.
There's a question there from A
Okay.
in the chat, just about the formulas.
Oh, yes. Okay. So you take the formulas directly. You want to have the formulas impact your being with direct contact. So that information and your information field are connecting. So you do not put them in water or a carrier of any sort. And you take 7 drops twice a day we've set it at 2 weeks. Then I actually think it's possible to condense that into a 1-week process. So especially if you're adding things like Zero Point Meridian and such to it. So you only take them for a week or 2. And that's what's so amazing about it, is as long as you're taking the formulas and also utilizing tools that elevate you through this process, that's where you get the stable change, like it's solid. And then you can go back and take them again. So there are 16 formulas total. They are for different things. We shared 3 of them today. But the power of that is like you may have a specific issue that you can do a frequency formula questionnaire, I believe.
So that's part of the six session.
Yeah, that's part of your full assessment. I didn't talk about the assessments. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe share that, just how that works, so that A understands.
So we do a full assessment as part of this. And if you wanted to start with that, we actually do have it as kind of an isolated thing as well. But in that full assessment, we get your like your mental health inventory, we get your frequency formula questionnaire, so we can identify the priorities with the 16 formulas. We also have the frequency assessment, which is, like that's important to see, and all the 5 life areas. And then sometimes we start with just that frequency assessment because that can be kind of like the first step. So in your full 6-session program, we do a full pre and post assessment, which includes multiple areas. So your frequency assessment, and we also have like a self-compassion scale, mindfulness levels, life satisfaction, and and then we can go into more detail, like if we're working on relationships or you're working on your mental health more, ego structure even. So there's a bunch there. And so I think that frequency assessment it's a good one to start with. And then we also do have the questionnaire for formulas for those who kind of want to head in that direction first to figure out which ones. So, okay. Any question on the full program or on how this all works together? That was a great question. So thank you.
What's
Oh,
the
and you can
price?
take, oh, the price. So what we're talking about today is the 6-session model is $777, and that includes 4 formulas and the full sessions too, and the assessments. So the pre and post assessment. It's a lot. It's definitely discounted. So if you wanted to start with the frequency assessment, we can meet and then confirm your program and get you going with all that. If you have a few questions or just want to take it in a little more, here we are. So on zpmpro.com, it just kind of walks you through like the 6 sessions. You've got that listed. Get a peek at the tools. Pretty much everything we talked about is in here. And then the personalized assessments. And then you can click right on the program, get it going. You could also schedule a short call and we will go over your formula questions or the frequency levels and figure out which assessments to start you with.
So how do you make your frequencies? Are you doing it with a frequency machine?
So they were designed by, his name is Steve Fontaine, and he's a doctor that worked in the early biofeedback back in the 80s. And so he basically did his career with a lot of this type of stuff. He did it mostly in Europe and then moved back to the US probably 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and was just going to retire because it was just like, you know, the US doesn't really have a model of holistic health as much as he was looking for. But anyway, but this process came to him on how to design the formulas. So it is totally proprietary. I don't actually, there's only one of the 16 that I've developed through frequency technology. The other 15 he designed. And so I continue to get the supply from him. And anyway, yeah.
Okay, so he's making them and you just order them.
Yeah, I have an account with him. Yeah, that's a private label on it.
Okay,
So,
cool.
are you familiar with homeopathics?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a combination of things like homeopathic frequencies and actual, nutritional frequencies. But that's the thing is like sometimes we'll catch that nutritional frequency and be like, okay, but I actually need the vitamin D, for example, or, something that, and then you just know.
So do you muscle test to figure out people's level, where they're at? Is that how you're finding that out?
So we do the questionnaire and then I also do a biofeedback scan. So am I able to take your information and combine it, between your questionnaires, and then we run your biofeedback, and together it's like the biofeedback will pick up things that you don't really know are like high priorities, for example. But then the things you do know, I kind of merge them and we come up with a plan. So
How long, you said there's 6 sessions. How long are the sessions?
45 minutes. We've set them. Yeah. So it doesn't take very long to go through 0 Point Meridian. It's like a really efficient technique. So, and then we combine that a little bit with the formula protocol. So you're focusing more on kind of working those two together, and works really well.
And so you just do it over Zoom or over
Yes.
the phone?
We do mostly Zoom because it helps to see
Yeah.
the practitioner.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you. All right.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thanks. It was good to have all you.